walks on these streets. Don't need a GD, I sell crack. What the working class sleeps. Live my life on the beat. No matter what, I'ma eat. If I'm a bum for a plate, might as well make it a feast. I go out till I'm in that box. A little baking soda mixed with the cane. Out into the rocks.
Kush, kush, kush.
I know this fearless me.
Fuck 'em, let 'em watch.
Satan's calling and we all on the clock. I have this dream. Every night
It's the same. I'm on the beach in front of the ocean.
Tell me what this mean. You can call it greed. I call it get mine by any means. Yeah, the KID, aka the Sandman, putting to sleep like rockin' bye-bye, baby. Will the sun come up tomorrow? I don't know, maybe.
What did I do with my weed?
I don't know, maybe. Yeah, the boy, the lost his way. Walking like a lost way. Yeah, the boy, the lost his way. Nothing good here, all he found was pain. Yeah, the boy, the lost his way. Walking with your mind, so what you ready to say? Yeah, the boy, the lost his way. Nothing good here, all he found was pain. Yeah, the boy.
My way, 'cause I'm not trying.
I was raised up west side, money motivated my team, standing corners high with these beyond the fucking grind. Do this all the time, every day, you know I gotta ride. Money be a girl, say goodbye, cause now the bitch is mine. It's just another day, another crime, we live in the devil's way. They renegade, watching Tuesday grades, these are the end of day. Get on your knees, pray like you're about to meet the Lord today. Slowly starting to fade, lost, slipping into an unconscious state of what the faith, living life in the hood is
Oh, well, I got what I got.
the favorite use for my kush, time to blow up. So I had called every show, so what? So like it fucking whole us. With that mean for a nigga like me, I might rob your whole family tree. Yeah. What that mean for a nigga like me, I might rob your whole family tree.
Yeah, boy, the last way. Walking like a master, where to see. Yeah, boy,
Most hated master.
nothing good here, all the time was pain. Yeah, boy, the last way. Walking like a master, where to see. Yeah, boy, the last way. Nothing good here, all the time was pain. Yeah, boy.
So this motherfucker's still on the street that threw the blood in my face. Don't ask me what the deal is. I knew they weren't gonna do much about it.
Hard to my number call, trust me dog. You ain't prepared to do what I'm prepared to do. Work hard, the artillery I got, cut you in half like a chainsaw. Rat-a-tat-tat-tat, man down. Stop, listen, what's that sound? Everybody look at what's going down.
Murder in the first degree, homicide at my crib harassing me. Man, I answer the Lord.
It's a cold world that we live in, we take it from me. Yeah, in the end, everything I see and have seen is but a dream within a dream. Long days, cold nights, summer days. This the life that we live, this the life that we live, this the life that we live, motherfucker. This the life that we live, this the life that we live, this the life that we live, motherfucker. This the life that we live, this the life that we live, this the life that we live, motherfucker. This the life that we live, this the life that we live, this the life that we live, motherfucker. That new shit, that king like revolution. You don't wanna fuck with this, I got homie on standby. Ready to let it rip, I suggest you close your lips, stop bumping your guns before you hurt someone you love. No remorse for my gun, no regrets for these.
Thought I was gonna get enough for two little skinny splits. I got enough for 1 million. That top one.
Big guns, big clips, you don't want any part of this. I'm on that Louis Vuitton
started shit.
We ain't shit, not giving a
Fuck who started it.
Try to see how far you get. 4 goons in a stolen whip. Roll through, fuck your whole day up. Fucking clown, should've paid up. Not a great digger,
Putting in work, covering your coffin in dirt. My name legally means we used to dig the graves, motherfucker. That ain't no joke. Shout out to Rolling 200 Neighborhood Crips, motherfucker. Main triad Crips.
There ain't no peace, all I see is violence in the streets. Junkies in the alleyway, homie brokers by any means.
Random robberies.
Who's the awesome action? What it's like to be me? It's just the nature of the beast. No warning, we just sink our teeth. We put the competition apart. Once the gun goes off, pick his start. He played until he passed on. A grown man crying like a hoe. What a sad song. My soldiers put your flags on. We gon' bang to this song. I keep the strap like an ace in the hat. Yeah, I'd rather get caught
with it than without it where I'm at.
Got no time for rats. Tell Brooke and they can kiss her ass. We don't talk to police, got no respect for the bad. That's why I keep the gun and mask right next to the stash. You can't play me. It's the nature of the beast. The nature of the beast. It's the nature of the beast. You can't play me. It's the nature of the beast. The nature of the beast. Nature of the beast. You can't play me. The nature of the beast. The nature of the beast. The nature of the beast. You can't play me. The nature of the beast. The nature of the beast. Yeah, the nature of the beast.
I'm jumping on deck, put my hand on my tech. Disrespect for mama, get your face in your lap. You claiming you hardcore, but doing bass in the trap. I'm loading my gun up, where the fuck boys at? It's murder, homie. Don't talk shit, get you burner, homie. Chrome on me, and I'm down for the first degree. First 48, and my cousin on tape. Cutting the cop up with a rusty razor blade. Days are crazy, but we'll stay getting paid.
I'm joking, I wouldn't do that. I'd stab you in the eye with a plastic fork, but I wouldn't cut you with a rusty razor. Come on, that'd be some sick shit.
Don't care if you're ready or not. Leave you down on the block. One step ahead of the cop. G's up, hoes down. No joking around. Catch you smoking a pound in your hood, holding it down. Killer king, holding the crown.
You can't play me. It's the nature of the beast. The nature of the beast. It's the nature of the beast. You can't play me. It's the nature of the beast. The nature of the beast. Nature of the beast, say you can't play me. Nature of the beast, the nature of the beast, say the nature of the beast, say you can't play me. Nature of the beast, the nature of the beast, yeah, the nature of the beast. You ain't gangster, all you do is talk, you some fat fuck wankster. Stuck up in the bench, you get checked up, wankster. Penetration score with my plates stuck, banks cut. Start to paint the walls when you stay blind. Keep your fucking flags and your chains up, danger. Creeping in the average,
you keep your flags and chains tucked. Tucked in my pocket, bitch. Get from all the fucking lumpy, man.
You can't play me.
Morally, we bankrupt.
You can't play me. You can't play me. Say you can't play me. You can't play me. Say you can't play. You can't play me. The nature of the beast.
The nature of the beast.
Yeah, the nature of the beast.
The beast, man, coming. Alright, that's 3 fucking songs. I still ain't got it rolled yet, eh? Fuck. Or is it 2 songs? I'm not even paying attention. I think that's 3, because there's 3 in a row. Yeah.
Gang members run?
You gotta get this gang members. Class TK every day, all fucking day. Better recognize what it is.
This black flag is all I need. Live my life like this every day of the week. Sometimes it's hard, but we still get by.
I love this one, but I'm gonna change it because I heard it 10 million times.
And this black flag is all I need. Live my life like this every day.
God don't care, this is how it is. Say you can pray, God ain't listening. God don't care, this is how it is.
You can pray, but God ain't listening. I've been listening to conversations about the people hate so plotting, having people fucking dropping them in the fuck.
Days now, she still can't sleep. She has trouble sitting still, so she paces around the room. She's praying that I get this through. Tears in her eyes when she stares at an empty spoon. She's got a baby in the womb. She's on survivor, so she lifts the needle to solve her problems. Yeah, she really baby all grown up. Yeah, she all grown up. And she hate the world. I told her life ain't fair. God don't care. This is how it is. It's a cold world we live in. Ain't no exceptions. The church talked up the womb, but God ain't listening. Hooker, if you hungry, take your ass
To the soup kitchen, I ain't cooking you nothing.
life ain't fair. God don't care. This is how it is.
All good things come to those who take them.
You're now listening to That's the Fuck Out Production.
Back, get it? Too back, get it?
Trying to make a buck for my cent in the hood. If I could sell a piece to a priest,
Then I would.
Cause I'm about my paper, dog, it's all good. When I roll up my dough up, cocky like Rocky Balboa. Product of the devil, gon' blow up. Stacking higher than the Twin Towers. Blow up on the scene like the fucking two towers. All I want in life is a fucking money shower. So what I cop a month is a brick coat power. My eyes low faded, smart got rated. What never get got from a pig made it. Laughing at these suckers, it's all smooth sailing. Patron in my cup, in the cup where a motherfucker toasted. Puff another blunt to be toasted. If a motherfucker hate, then we rolling. So much money, so much riches. All my life I've been thug living. Got the first to brick, and then it's all. Tell my baby mama I ain't never coming home. So much money, so much bitches. All my life I've been straight living. Got the first to brick, and then it's all. Till I'm in the beast, I ain't never coming home. Boys in the hood, got toys in the hood. House party bumps make noise in the hood. When I think back, dollar sign, blink that. Fuck a bitch with a fat ass, I'm the master. Sitting in the cell, probably like an Astor. Living in the hell, but my seed not a bastard. Told me keep it gangster, lane up the faster. Product of the devil, bass be the crack and the coke be the devil. Personifying anything, and I don't give a fuck if you don't understand. I'm on another level. You can't tell me nothing, but try and tell me something. Why the fuck you hating when I'm rolling by something? Probably cause I'm doing big things and you frontin'. Cheers to my haters, cheers to my dogs. Life of a gangster, playing till I ball. Trying to stay on top till I'm all fucking fall. So much money, so much riches. All my life I've been thug living. Got the verse to brick, and then it's all. Tell my baby mama I ain't never coming home. So much money, so much bitches. All my life I've been straight living. Got the verse to brick, and then it's all. Till I'm in the beast, I ain't never coming home. Stole for a heater, now I pack a heater. Money coming quicker than a motherfucking cheetah. Fresh to desk, sipping the floor, sitting with a couple of senoritas. I'm a soldier to my deceased on the boulder. Living and giving a fuck the weight of the world on my shoulder. Have I never had a harder clip? Yeah, I got this shit. Got bitches on my job, I'm the cap on the shit. And this is how it is, it's how we do in the city. Witty wolf, if I was sheep, I don't feel no pity. Rather feel a fucking kitty, ever since I was nitty bitty kitty. Trying to make a fucking pup, go a time by a blizzy. Grind for the grizzly. Jack, be quick. Jack, ready, give me your shit before I light them up like a candlestick. Got some killers on my team, they ain't even 18. Day and night, pulling triggers, serving beans. Like I don't give a fuck. One time, wanna lock me up. Go hard till I'm dead and gone. Go hard till I'm dead and gone. Live life like I don't give a fuck. One time, wanna lock me up. Go hard till I'm dead and gone. Go hard till I'm dead and gone. I've been living life like this since a little kid. Could've made a movie out of all the shit we did. Count so much money, turn your fingers black. Shit so good, I'm making extra weight back. Puffing on the weed, sipping on the Alizé, sleeping in the limousine. Yeah, it's just another day. Mama, don't pray for me, cause I'ma be okay. I live to die by the blade. Only feel alive when I'm staring death in the face. I'm holding the lower 9, alone in the dark. Just me and my thoughts, contemplating homicide. Trust when the sun goes down, we ride. Respect to my dog, looking on the front line. No choice, either his life or mine. I ain't dying today. Rather pull the trigger back and watch the soul fly away. Watch the soul fly away, bye bye. Live life like I don't give a fuck. One time wanna lock me up. Go hard till I'm dead and go. Live life like I don't. Get your ass up out the car, nigga. Get the fuck out. Hurt yourself, nigga.
I'm trying to turn it off, man. You don't want to quit. Well, the working class. Alright, I think I got it. The fuck? The fuck? Alright, we still online? I don't think so. Are you fucking kidding me?
Important not just for the public, but for the healthcare professionals. Closer to home, some Toronto stores have reported face mask shortages, including Roblox Discount Warehouse, selling 10 times their average this week alone.
Normally, probably 2 or 3 boxes a week. We've sold 30 boxes.
But health officials are stressing the risk of a full outbreak in Canada is very low. Reporting live, I'm Michelle Mackey.
680 News Time, 3:34.
What is up with this fish market? Everybody was going to this fish market. I gotta go there. That's what it is. Everybody's hearing about it now. They all gotta go there. Just what is up with this fish market? There's gotta be some good fish.
Elsa Jadidi will land in Toronto today. They were on the plane that was shot down by Iranian forces 2 weeks ago. Haju says he wants their positivity to be their legacy.
They have a message. They have a message for us.
They bulldozed the site. There's a video of it. You think those remains are your fucking people? You don't know who the fuck's bones those are.
See any differences. We are all human. We have to love each other and we have to care for each other. That's all that matters.
Haju says their message of love is even more important during such divisive times across the world. This is 680 News. Residents of a massive downtown condominium complex woke up this morning to news they're building They don't have water for several weeks. In an email sent to tenants, according to the Star, Aura's building management confirmed that a broken line shut down the water in the 80-story building near Yonge and Gerrard Streets around 2 o'clock this morning. The email notes the repair process could take at least 7 weeks. Earlier in the week, the city said it will begin repairs on the water main near Gerrard and Yonge. It was damaged by
that term survival sex. You're going to be hearing about that.
The city said the water service will not be interrupted, but the residents in the area may experience lower water pressure or a slight discoloration. The repairs are scheduled to begin on January 22nd with the end date April the 30th. 680 News Time, 3:36. Former federal cabinet minister Peter MacKay says he's ready to take on Prime Minister Justin Trudeau in the next federal election. He announced his candidacy today for the leadership of the Federal Conservative Party in Nova Scotia. He spoke about his return to politics after stepping away back in 2015.
Over 4 years ago, I stood in this very room
and tried to rip us off for $35 billion, you stupid fuck.
Many of you who are here again today, and announced that I would be leaving politics. It was a tough decision.
You got demoted from the job you had, and you want a better job? Get the fuck out of here, man.
On social media today that he will officially enter the race on Monday. 680 News Time, 3:37. As rotating strikes by Ontario's primary school teachers stretch into the second week, the union representative has announced another GTA board will walk off the job this Thursday. 680's Leah Johansson.
Which one's left?
In Durham will have to figure out other plans for kids this week. The Elementary Teachers Federation of Ontario giving notice for a one-day walkout planned at Durham, Lambton, Kent, and Algoma school boards on Thursday. Teachers across the province will also be off the job Monday through Wednesday as these rotating walkouts continue. But so far, Durham, the only local board impacted next week. This comes as talks have derailed. The last bargaining session was 37 days ago. Meantime, Premier Doug Ford issuing a vague warning to teachers' unions yesterday, saying his patience can only last so long, telling everyone to stay tuned. Now, Ford didn't elaborate, but later said he's not looking for back-to-work legislation at this point. I'm Leah Johansson.
In sports, the NHL's best and brightest are all in one place tonight. St. Louis for the 2020 NHL All-Star Game. 3 Maple Leafs are there. 2 will be taking part. 680's David Petrangelo has more from Missouri.
Well, the NHL skills competition now behind them, it's time for the players to prepare for the main event. Of course, that is the actual NHL All-Star Game itself, happening in the ice right beside me here at the Enterprise Center in downtown St. Louis. Now, the 3-on-3 mini tournament will take place with, of course, 2 first-time All-Stars from your Toronto Maple Leafs, that is Mitch Marner and Frederick Anderson. Unfortunately for fans, Austin Matthews will not be competing. He is in the building, but he is nursing that wrist injury, still hoping to play over the course of the next couple of days. The game itself will go tonight on Sportsnet at 8 o'clock. Reporting from St. Louis at the Enterprise Center, I'm David Petrangelo.
This is 680 News at 3:38. Today marks the start of Chinese New Year. 680's Joey Keeney has that story.
2020 is the year of the rat, and although it's still winter in most of China, the New Year is popularly known as the Spring Festival. The 31st annual Dragon Ball is on this evening at Metro Toronto Convention Center, benefiting the Yihong Community Wellness Foundation. You can ring in the Lunar New Year by supporting programs for seniors and funding 3 new long-term care homes with about 800 beds. That gets going at around 5:30. Over in Scarborough at Woodside Square on the corner of Finch and McCowan, the Chinese New Year Night Market and Festival will be on until Sunday. The festival will have a wishing tree, folk songs, and a New Year's Eve countdown show.
I need some opium.
Gong Hei Fat Choi coming in 30 seconds. We'll check the price of gas. 680 News Time, 3:39.
Find a car today, a much better way. Visit OntarioCars.ca.
People getting stabbed, people getting hit with baseball bats. Fuck all sorts of crazy shit about.
Visit OntarioCars.ca and find a large selection to choose from.
It's not all going to be on the fucking news. I could look. Let's see what's on
pricing from our trusted sellers too, and all purchases are protected by a compensation fund. Find your gem at OntarioCars.ca.
You following how I do things? I do what I gotta do to get what I need. I get what I need, then I take in the information from the rest of the world.
Gas price update info predicting the price of gas is going down not 1 but 2 cents at midnight to just under $1.11 a liter. 680 News Time, 3:40.
The optimal golf days is
It's
here,
gonna be even
and
cheaper
bigger
over there.
and pointier than ever. Until January 26th, PC Optimum members can earn 15,000 points for every $100 spent on any combination of Apple App Store and iTunes, the Ultimate Dining Card, Google Play, and Roots gift cards. That's like a good $15 back in points. But there's only one way to get this offer, and many others. You need to download the app or register.
This is why I don't really save roaches. It's sort of like I don't throw them out right away, but I don't want to make a habit of like counting them.
PCOptimum.ca. It's nice to have a guarantee that your money will grow because your kids are guaranteed to grow. Mom, my shoes are too small. Thankfully, HSBC Bank offers a GIC with a 2.18% interest, so you'll be ready for anything.
Mom, my shoes are too small.
Again. Take a step towards financial wellness today. Get 2.18% per annum on a 218-day non-redeemable GIC for new deposits. For full details, visit hsbc.ca/grow. HSBC Bank. Together we thrive.
680
They
News
got a
Time,
phone number. I'm gonna call these
341. Time for
guys.
traffic
How
and
much
weather
is the
together
diesel
on the lines.
today?
Here's Christine Langos.
And this report is brought to you by Jaguar Land Rover on the eastbound 401 in Weston. In the collectors, problems have been cleared away. It's still slow from the 427 over to Weston, both express and collectors. And then beyond that, eastbound 401 is busy from about Bayview to Leslie in the collectors, and again through Kennedy in the collectors. And I'm having a look at the westbound side. Westbound 401 is also a bit slow through Kennedy collectors. Delays from Leslie to Avenue Road, alternately express and collectors. In the West End, we now have slowdowns from approaching here Ontario in the collectors to west of Mavis. So at some point it was going to start to build through Mississauga as well. And northbound Don Valley Parkway is heavy going from north of Don Mills to York Mills, and expect delays on the South 404 Don Valley from south of Finch over the 401 to south of Lawrence, and it's jammed at the bottom end from about Queen as you make your way onto the Gardner ramp. Westbound Gardner is jammed from the Don Valley Parkway to Jarvis, and that's because on the westbound Gardner from Jarvis to Young Bay York, they've closed off the right lane for construction, and the ramp to Young Bay York is also closed. Westbound Lakeshore at Parliament is jammed because it's down to a single lane for construction. If you're on the eastbound QE Gardner, you're a bit better off, but it's still heavy from approaching here Ontario to Dixie, approaching Dufferin to Bathurst. It's not too bad to the Spadina ramp now, but it is heavy approaching York to Cherry through that long-term construction project. If winter were a show, Range Rover
Diesel,
Sport would give you
127.9, regular 107.9. What the fuck is up with
any
that?
snow-covered surface. Visit your local Land Rover authorized retailer for offers. Your next report is at 3:51. And now with the forecast, here's Michelle Nelson.
Well, it is a very gloomy, foggy day out there, and keep the umbrella handy if you're heading out maybe for dinner tonight. We do have periods of drizzle and a few flurries in the forecast this evening and into the overnight, and we even have the risk for freezing drizzle late as temperatures drop to 0. Scattered flurries tomorrow morning. Tomorrow, your high will be 3 degrees. We do have the chance of a rain-snow mix again for your Sunday afternoon, and that's just as we get into some wraparound from this system. Still dealing with that rain-snow mix north of the city, north of Highway 7. If you're heading east towards Ottawa, watch out for some heavy snowfall. Your overnight low tonight is 0.
680 News Time, 3:43. Now, it may be cold and relatively miserable out today, but before you know it, summer is going to be back.
It's having a nice day out there,
summer
brother.
job
What's wrong with you?
opportunities. Mayor John
You
Tory
have been
was
locked
joined
in the
by
basement
Deputy
too
Mayor
long.
Michael Thompson to launch the city's
Soundproof room where you're not even allowed to
for
smoke.
summer
That is
jobs
your
at
issue.
Birchmount Community Center today.
We have continued to invest as well. It isn't just about the buildings, it's about the programs. And we've continued to invest in those programs over the last number of years. In fact, in the last 5 years, we've added 27,500 new spaces in community and recreation programs across the city.
The city is currently accepting summer job applications till 16th of February for positions with camps and various rec and swim programs. There will also be a series of job fairs across the city until February the 6th. You can visit the city's website for more details. That is toronto.ca. 680 News Time, 3:44.
Hi, I'm Mike from Mississauga, and I bought my new F-150 online at AaronwoodFord.com.
People from everywhere are buying their new Fords online at AaronwoodFord.com. It's so easy to save time and money with just a click on this amazing website. Just click and save.
People from everywhere are buying online at Aaronwood Ford. They're saving money, saving time.
And remember, we'll buy your car even if you don't buy ours. Buy online at AaronwoodFord.com.
You don't buy office chairs from the back of a truck, get suits from the Dollar Mart. Reuse yesterday's coffee, buy an office that's falling apart. You don't hire an intern as your CEO, raccoons to clear your trash. Treat clients to a fast food lunch, you dial up to save some cash. You get what you pay for, so be careful what you choose. Use the original HP toner, and you just can't lose. 100% reliable, environmentally responsible, always trust original HP toner.
This is All News Radio, 680 News. An overcast sky and 3 degrees in downtown Toronto. Good afternoon from the 680 News Broadcast Center. I'm Asher Roth. Thanks for joining us. Here are the top stories this hour. A total of 13 countries have now confirmed cases of the Wuhan coronavirus, with 4 confirmed cases in Australia and 3 more in France.
Is it still considered mainly in
the past
China?
24 hours. A total of 41 people have now been confirmed dead, but no cases have been confirmed in Canada. Officials here say it's likely the virus will spread here, but that officials will be better prepared than they were when SARS hit back in 2003. Turns out the impact of a broken water main on a downtown condo complex is much worse than expected. Residents of an 80-story building near Yonge and Gerrard
They always give it to you in
the week they might
basics.
experience lower water pressure and discoloration
worse.
while repairs were carried out. But this morning, they awoke to no water. And the Toronto Star reports it could be nearly 2 months before they get it back. And more rotating strikes were announced today by the ETFO. The Durham District School Board will be among 3 boards set to hit the picket lines on Thursday. Time now for 680 Sports, brought to you by Northwood Mortgage from Sportsnet 590 The Fan. Brent Gunning. Brent.
Thank you, Asher. The NHL's All-Stars are in St. Louis. You can watch the 3-on-3 tournament starting at 8 on Sportsnet or listen on Sportsnet 590 The Fan. The Leafs will be represented by Mitch Marner and Freddie Anderson. Austin Matthews is also there, but he will not play. The Leafs' next game will be on Monday. Jake Muzzin may be playing in that one, with the team recalling him from the Marlies. Trevor Moore also getting called back to the big club. Speaking of the Marlies, they're on the road in Cleveland, where they fall 5-4. The final there. Tiger Woods has his first hiccup of the day at the Farmers Insurance Open. After 4 front 9 birdies, he bogeys 11, so he is now 3 shots off the lead, held by Ryan Palmer. On the LPGA Tour, they're in Boca Raton, where Brooke Henderson is back inside the top 10, 7 shots off the lead. Raptors off today, back at it tomorrow, while Milos Raonic plays Marin Cilic tonight at the Aussie Open. Sports 15 and 45 past every hour or anytime on the home of Tim and Sid, now on TV and radio. Sportsnet 590 The Fan.
680 News Time, 347.
License 10349. It's a slap in the face. Your bank refused your mortgage. Don't get mad. Call Northwood Mortgage. Northwood Mortgage takes a closer look at your financial picture, property equity, past record, the promise of performance, and more. Northwood Mortgage does everything they can to approve the mortgage you need. That's their business. Northwood Mortgage. Visit NorthwoodMortgage.com.
We're working harder for you. Few cars can navigate a winter drive as well as a Volvo. Rigorously tested in Sweden's Arctic Circle, every Volvo is designed to confidently handle whatever a Canadian winter brings your way. Lease the 2020 Volvo XC90 from $699 a month at 2.9% for 48 months for $6,250 down. Visit your local GTA Volvo retailer or volvocars.ca for details.
680 News Time, 348. As the federal government moves to revise the law on assisted death, a new survey suggests that most Canadians do support medical help to end suffering, even when a natural death is some time away.
In a web survey conducted this month for the Canadian Press, polling firm Leger found 86% of respondents agreed that people with a serious, degenerative, and incurable disease should be able to request and obtain medical assistance in dying. 74% of those who took part said medical assistance in dying should be accessible to all people with incurable diseases, even if their death is not fast approaching. Agreement with the notion ranged from 66% in Manitoba and Saskatchewan to 84% in Quebec. There is also little variation among people who identified as supporters of the 3 main federal parties. Terry Pedro, the Canadian Press, Ottawa.
680 News Time, 349. Now time for the Green File. Here's our gardening specialist, Mark Cullen.
As chair of the
I have trigeminal neuralgia. 1 out of 2 people diagnosed commits suicide in the first 2 years. Does this mean that my death is foreseeable? Is my death at my own hand the foreseeable natural death? Could I ask for euthanasia based on that? It's been active for 20 years. See, I'm not going to kill myself. But the other half of the people did, apparently, supposedly. I don't know. You can't get information on shit like that. But so that concerns me. I'm not concerned about it. It just concerns me.
680 News Time, 3:50.
Are you struggling with your up-close reading vision? Need a larger font size on your phone to read text messages?
That's why it's called suicide disease.
Procedure. These challenges will be a thing of the past. Presbyvision is designed to treat up-close reading vision loss as well as nearsightedness, farsightedness, and astigmatism, so you can see near, far, and everything in between without glasses.
And Jones is because they needed a fucking last
for a limited time, save up to 20% on your procedure. Book your free no-obligation consultation today at LASIKMD.com.
Let me ask you something. Do you bank or do you Duca? Because if you bank, then you're putting your money to work for them, not you. But it's a different story at Duca Credit Union. With Duca, you're a member, not just a customer, which means you share in the profits. Try getting your bank to do that. With Duca, you also get the same financial services and a whole lot more. That's the Duca difference. Find out what Duca can do for you at Duca.com. Do more, be more, achieve more with Duca Credit Union.
More missing people.
680 News
People
Time,
disappear all the
3:51.
fucking time.
Traffic and weather together on the ones. Here's Christine Legos.
And this report is brought to you by Lavelle. A traffic spotter reports that we have heavy fog on the 401 and in the city, anywhere east of Warden. And I'm just checking out the cameras, and indeed, it does look to be quite foggy in many areas around the GTA. So do keep in mind, if you keep your full headlight system on for safety, you'll definitely be in better shape. Eastbound 401 is slow from the 427 to Weston Express and Collectors, from Bayview to Leslie Collectors. It's slow from Warden to Kennedy and the Collectors as well. Westbound 401 slows from Leslie to Avenue Road, alternately Express and Collectors. There are delays in the West End now from approaching here Ontario Collectors to West of Mavis. Just checking out the northbound Don Valley Parkway. That's a slow go from Don Mills to York Mills, and southbound 404 Don Valley continues to be a slow drive from approaching Shepherd to south of Lawrence, and from Queen down to the Gardner. And westbound Gardner is just as slow from the Don Valley Parkway to Jarvis. It's all because of this construction they've set up westbound on the Gardner from Jarvis to the Young Bay York ramp. Along that stretch of the Gardner, the right lane is closed, and the ramp to Young Bay York is also shut. Westbound Lakeshore at Parliament is down to a single lane for construction. Eastbound QE Gardner looking at slowdowns from here Ontario to Dixie, from the Humber Bridge to Parkside, and it's busy from approaching York to Cherry as well. Experience Winterlicious in style at Lavelle on King West. Japanese Brazilian fusion cuisine, breathtaking city skyline views, a rooftop experience like no other. Reservations at chez-lavelle.com. Your next report is at 4:01, and now with the forecast, here's Michelle Nelson.
Well, it's really a foggy, drizzly afternoon for us. Temperatures still remaining at 3 degrees. We have light winds out of the southeast. So as we head throughout this afternoon, still keep the umbrella handy. You're going to need it. This is a widespread system bringing really a mixed bag of precipitation. North of Highway 7, we've seen that rain-snow mix. East towards Ottawa, if you're heading there today, that's where we're going to see the worst of it with some heavy snowfall. We will see periods of drizzle continuing this evening with some flurries overnight, and we even have the risk of seeing some freezing drizzle as temperatures drop to 0 as we head throughout the overnight hours. Some morning flurries tomorrow, and then temperatures warm up to 3 degrees tomorrow afternoon. We do have the chance of some mixing and then some flurries tomorrow night, and that's just with the wraparound of what's left of this system. The system really clears out through tonight. It's 2 degrees right now at Pearson with drizzle. Your overnight low is 0.
Parents know that a great public education system helps our children build a solid future. But instead of investing in supports for students, Doug Ford's Conservatives are pushing for deep cuts, increasing class sizes, putting kindergarten at risk, and letting down students who need special education supports. That's why educators are taking a stand. Stand with us. Together, we can protect our children's education today and for generations to come. A message from the Elementary Teachers Federation of Ontario.
Coming up at 4 o'clock, our Michelle Mackey will have more on how Canadian officials are preparing for the Wuhan coronavirus. No confirmed cases have been listed in Canada, but they say it is likely that they will. And residents of a downtown condominium could be without running water for nearly
Let's
2
take
months.
bets on this. Yeah, there probably will be. Thank you, Mr. Government House Official.
The 680 News Extreme Weather Center. With the latest forecast, delays on your commute, and whether schools are open.
It's likely. What are you doing about it?
Time a storm hits the GTA. The 680 News Extreme Weather Center is activated. Brought to you by Subaru. Confidence in motion.
I feel protected now.
Vacation is calling. Exclusively on 680 News and 680news.com.
If you're riding the Rocket this weekend, you've got a sizable subway closure to contend with on Yonge Street. Trains are not running today or tomorrow on Line 1 between St. Clair and Shepherd Yonge stations. It's because of ongoing construction on the Eglinton Crosstown LRT. Shuttle buses are running. Wheel-Trans service is available if you need it. Regular service resumes Monday morning at 6. Your business report's 1 minute away. 680 News Time, 3:55.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ziprecruiter.ca/Canada. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
80% of employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site within the first day. It's the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. Just go to this exclusive web address, ziprecruiter.ca/Canada. That's ziprecruiter.ca/CANADA. ziprecruiter.ca/Canada.
680 News Time, 3:56. Time for the 680 News Weekend Business Report.
I'm Carl Garnash. January is a big month for personal finance, and a New Year's resolution for a number of Canadians is to make smarter decisions with their money. Luke Sheehan, Vice President of Marketing at RateHub.ca, says there are a number of ways to make your money work harder for you this year. He says one way you can take your budget further is by incorporating your credit card.
If you're somebody that spends a great deal of money on groceries, gas, or something similar, it'd be in your best interest to think about applying for a card that has a strong cashback type incentive. Whereas if you're somebody that is intending to do quite a lot of travel this year, then try and steer yourself towards a card that rewards some travel-based purchases and experiences instead. It's really down to thinking about where am I really going to be spending this year and what card types best give value back against those kinds of purchases.
He adds that you should also avoid letting your auto insurance renew.
It can be very, very tricky to shop around and get a more competitive quote, but in reality, the price you paid that may have been the best 12 months ago with the provider that you chose may not be the best case for you going forward. So it's tempting to let these things also renew and assume that it's all going to be good again. But really, it's good to take pause, just look back at the market and understand what you're actually paying for and whether there's somebody out there that can give you a more competitive quote for the same thing.
2020 is also a good time to shine a spotlight on your savings. Sheehan says there are ways we can work to maximize the power of TFSAs or RRSPs.
Really, it's about thinking of what is the objective I have for saving money this year. So if, for example, you're somebody that has a short-term saving goal, but you still need to be able to access the cash, then TFSA is a really good option because it's always on hand for you. If you're thinking more about retirement, then absolutely getting into the world of RRSPs is something that you should be considering. So again, it's very much a case of doing your homework, understanding what your specific need is, and then picking the right saving vehicle for that need.
Luke Sheehan is the Vice President of Marketing at RateHub.ca. At the Business Center, I'm Carl Garnash.
Switch from your current alarm provider today and save. The Monitoring Center reviews say it all. Join the tens of thousands of homeowners who wish they had switched to the Monitoring Center sooner. Call us today or visit us at themonitoringcenter.com for a free quotation and start saving now. Think security? Think the Monitoring Center. Why? Because we care.
1-866-24-7-4999.
At Capital Direct, all of our clients share a common trait or two. They are doing very well, they own their own homes, and they have a sense of urgency. Something's come up. They've got a special home project, they want to pay down taxes, or they just want to get started saving on interest. If you've got something you would like to urgently take care of, call Capital Direct today at 1-800-NEW-CAPITAL. CapitalDirect.ca.
Checking some regional weather conditions this hour. In Burlington, it's overcast and 4 degrees. Markham, some flurries. +1 right now. Oakville, overcast and 3. Uxbridge, overcast and 0. Right now in downtown Toronto, we have an overcast sky. It's 3 degrees, feeling a bit cooler with the wind. Lucas Castelletto is the afternoon show editor. Meg Black is at the digital desk. 680 News is CFTR AM Toronto, and at the single tone, it is 4 o'clock.
For breaking news, traffic, and weather, this is 680 News. Toronto.
Here are Cam Dorrit and Asher Roth.
Good afternoon. This is Saturday, the 25th of January. Here's what's making news right now.
As Wuhan coronavirus spreads and the death toll rises, 57 million people in 15 Chinese cities are now in lockdown, the latest on the global spread.
With coronavirus fears on the rise, we ask if you would wear one of those surgery masks for protection.
No, I'm not going to panic about that now.
Toronto's medical officer of health shares her opinion.
A broken water main leaves an 80-story condo building near Yonge and Gerrard without water for weeks. And a new trailer just dropped for the upcoming film on former Mayor Rob Ford and the scandal that rocked Toronto. The NHL's best will play a little 3-on-3 in St. Louis tonight, while Tiger Woods is making a move at the Farmers Insurance Open. Sports at 15.
And coming up in business, Ottawa laying the groundwork for a Buy Canadian ad campaign, specifically targeting the food chain. The Canadian Federation of Agriculture tells us what they're hoping to hear.
680 News Time, 4:01. Time for traffic and weather. Together on the ones. Here's Christine Langos.
This report is brought to you by Alterna Savings. We have a stalled vehicle now westbound 401 at Leslie in the Collectors. The right lane is blocked off here. Westbound 401 is just busy in general from about Leslie over to Avenue Road, alternately Express and Collectors, and then delays in the west end from here Ontario Collectors to west of Mavis. Eastbound 401 slowdowns from the 427 to west in both Express and Collectors. It's busy through Kiel in the Collectors on the eastbound 401. Then a slowdown from Bathurst to Yonge Express from Bayview to Leslie in the Collectors, and a bunch up through Kennedy in the Collectors as well. You'll find it busy on the southbound 404 Don Valley from approaching Shepherd to south of Lawrence and from Queen down to the Gardner. That's because on the westbound Gardner from Jarvis to Young Bay York, the right lane is closed for construction, and the ramp to Young Bay York is also closed. So westbound Gardner is jammed from the Don Valley Parkway over to Jarvis. Now past that it does open up, so there is some relief. However, on the westbound Lakeshore at Parliament, you're down to a single lane here for construction. On the eastbound QE Gardner, expect delays from approaching here Ontario to Dixie, Humber Bridge to Parkside, approaching York to Cherry. Northbound Don Valley Parkway is slow from Don Mills to York Mills, and there's a collision affecting north and southbound Black Creek at Lawrence. Saving for retirement doesn't have to be scary. Talk to an advisor at Alterna Savings about the best plan for you. Visit alterna.ca to book an appointment. Alterna Savings, discover the good in banking. Your next report is at 4:11, and now with the check of the forecast, here's Michelle Nelson.
We're still dealing with foggy conditions right now, and keep that umbrella handy. Drizzle continuing into tonight, mixed with snow north and east of the city. The risk of freezing drizzle with flurries late this evening as temperatures drop to the freezing mark. It's 3 degrees right now at Pearson. Your overnight low is 0.
680 News Time, 4:03. Today is the first day of the Lunar New Year, but festivities have been canceled in Beijing, Hong Kong, and other major Chinese cities to control the spread of the new deadly coronavirus. With more than 57 million people across 15 cities in China on lockdown and countries overseas now confirming cases, Canada is preparing for the virus to eventually come here. 680's Michelle Mackey's following it all, and she joins us live with
that means they're writing up new laws secretly to lock you into a place where you can't get out of.
Coronavirus confirmed, the vast majority in China.
We did it with the
international community is also on alert as the Wuhan virus spreads to at least 13 countries outside of China, including France, Australia, and as ABC's Ian Pannell reports, a second patient was confirmed yesterday in the United States.
The latest confirmed case is a woman in her 60s from Chicago. She returned from China last week and fell sick 3 days later. The CDC are now testing 63 patients from 22 states.
There have been no confirmed cases in Canada, but screening measures have been beefed up at major airports in Toronto, Vancouver, and Montreal. Health officials are stressing that the risk of a full outbreak in Canada is very low. Reporting live, I'm Michelle Mackey.
Despite the assurances of public health officials that Toronto residents aren't at risk, preventative hysteria is beginning to ensue. 680's Mark Douglas explains.
It was a mainstay of the SARS epidemic. People out in public wearing surgery-style masks over their nose and mouth. With coronavirus concerns on the rise, I found some Toronto drugstores had sold out of those masks this past week. A clerk at one store told me they sold about 100 in 3 days. Would you wear one?
I don't think I would, no. I'm just be careful, as always.
You really needed that shit, and you already have it.
Toronto's medical officer of health, Dr. Eileen Davila, was asked about those masks. She says standard flu prevention techniques are the best procedure at this point.
Washing your hands, using alcohol-based hand sanitizer, covering your cough and sneeze, staying home when you're sick.
I'm Mark Douglas.
You're listening to All News Radio. This is 680 News at 4:05. Starting today, the city of Wuhan, China, is banning the use of vehicles in their downtown core to try to restrict people from moving around. George Goodwin is an American teacher in that city and tells Sky News he's relieved to have a supply of rice, but he worries other essentials could soon run out.
I personally bought enough, like I said, the last 4 or 5 days, anticipating that the stores would be able to resupply. But the problem was that there's no transportation in the city right now other than private vehicles. So getting to a store may be a bit of a challenge.
Most of China's provinces and cities have declared a level 1 public health alert, the highest emergency level. 680 News Time.
I'm just laughing while the world burns. No, this is all opportunities.
Downtown woke up this morning with news from management they will be without water for weeks. According to an email obtained by the Toronto Star, Aura's building management confirmed that a broken line shut down the water in an 80-story building near Yonge and Gerrard around 2 o'clock this morning. The email notes that the repair process could take up to 7 weeks. On Saturday, city spokesperson Brad Ross confirmed the water service is being maintained. A second update was sent around 10:30 this morning, explaining that officials had to isolate all of the water pumps to prevent damage to equipment. Earlier in the week, the city said the water service would not be interrupted, but that residents may experience lower water pressure or a slight discoloration. The repairs scheduled to begin on January 22nd and last until April 30th. 680 News Time, 4:07. The Elementary Teachers Federation of Ontario is ramping up its strike action yet again. 680's Leah Johansson tells us another round of one-day walkouts have been announced.
The union says it will bring its rotating strikes to the Durham, Lambton, Kent, and Algoma school boards on Thursday. Now, job action is also planned Monday through Wednesday across the province, but no other local boards have been targeted. This is the second week of rotating walkouts from the union, representing over 80,000 teachers and staff in elementary schools across the province. Now, this comes as negotiations have continued to fail between that union and the province. The last bargaining session was 37 days ago. Next week's strike action just adds to ongoing tensions between the province and its 4 major teachers' unions, which have been without contracts since August. Premier Doug Ford issuing a vague warning to teachers' unions yesterday, saying his patience can only last so long and telling everyone to stay tuned. I'm Leah Johansson.
Former federal cabinet minister Peter MacKay says he will run for the leadership of the federal Conservative Party. He made the official announcement today. Former Newfoundland and Labrador Premier Kathy Dunderdale says MacKay would bring a varied life experience to the job.
He's also had the hiatus now where he stepped back from politics and had the experience of being in the private sector, being focused on raising his family and so on. So brings a whole new dimension to what he brings to the table.
MacKay served in a number of positions under Prime Minister Stephen Harper.
35 billion.
Time 4:08 as the NHL skills competition wrapped up its 30th anniversary in St. Louis last night. Now it's time for the actual All-Star game featuring all of your favorites at the Enterprise Center. That is where we find 680's David Petrangelo.
The main event is just around the corner. The 2020 NHL All-Star game hits the ice tonight in St. Louis. And of course, there are 2 first-time All-Stars from the Maple Leafs. That's Mitch Marner and Freddie Anderson. Freddie specifically almost took the title in the save streak event last night until GTA native Blues goalie Jordan Binnington took over the crease and stopped 10 shots in a row for that title. Austin Matthews sat on the sidelines nursing a wrist injury, but he says he's still hoping to play in the team's next game.
We set a process, have a good practice Sunday and go from there. But it's definitely my goal is to play Monday and I'll try to stay as healthy as possible.
The All-Star game goes tonight at 8 o'clock on Sportsnet. From St. Louis, I'm David Petrangelo.
Coming up, we'll check the price of gas. 680 News Time, 4:09.
This is 680 News. At Muskoka Woods, supportive staff come together to create an environment for kids unlike any other.
It definitely changed me and who I am. When I go home, I'll have a lot more interest in playing with the kids on my block. I'm like more cooperative now. I like to work together as a team, not just go and do my own thing.
See how overnight summer camp develops confidence in your child through
Did you hear that fucking
community
kid?
building. Discover
Holy
more at
fuck.
MuskokaWoods.com.
Muskoka Woods.
Time now for the 680 News gas price update. And Pro predicts the price
That
of
was a
gas
cry
will
for
go
help.
down 2 cents at midnight. $2.10.9 a liter at most GTA stations. Coming up in a minute, traffic and weather together on the ones. 680 News Time, 410.
1877 Colors for Kids. KARS.
I'm more cooperative now, and I don't want to do my own. What did he say? He's not doing his own thing.
Donate online at carsforkids.ca. That's cars with a K. Pickup is quick and easy. You'll benefit a child and get a maximum tax credit.
1877 Colors for Kids. Donate your card.
Also accepting boats, motorcycles, RVs, and truck donations.
The trust isn't there anymore. It's over. But we had so many. I know, I can hardly believe it myself.
Wait, our travel rewards points are really...
Gone, Michael. And they're never coming back.
Switch to RBC Avion and earn points that don't expire, so you can use them whenever you want. And right now, start Avioning and get 35,000 welcome points to go anywhere in Canada or the U.S. Alaska and Hawaii require more points. Offer ends February 28, 2020. Conditions apply. Visit rbc.com/Avion35.
680 News Time, 4:11. Time for traffic and weather together on the ones. Here's Christine Langos.
This report is brought to you by Queen's Smith MBA in Toronto. On the eastbound QEW approaching here, Ontario, we had problems very briefly. They've been cleared from the left lane. It is busy from approaching Mississauga Road off and on over to Dixie. And delays on the eastbound Gardner from the Humber Bridge to Parkside. It's slow from approaching York to Cherry through that long-term construction where you're down to 2 lanes only. And speaking of construction, westbound Gardner from Jarvis to Young Bay York, the right lane is closed. And the ramp to Young Bay York is also closed for road work this afternoon. So you'll find it slow not only on the Gardner, but on the southbound 404 Don Valley from Shepherd to south of Lawrence, from Queen onto the Gardner ramp over to Jarvis where that construction is. And westbound Lakeshore at Parliament is also down to a single lane for construction. Northbound Don Valley Parkway delays from north of Don Mills to York Mills. We have a stalled vehicle westbound 401 at Leslie in the collectors. It's affecting the right lane. Right now, westbound 401 is busy from Bayview to Avenue Road, alternately expressing collectors from here Ontario collectors to west of Mavis. Eastbound 401 looking at slowdowns from the 427 to about Weston Road, expressing collectors through Kiel in the collectors. It's also busy eastbound 401 from Bathurst to Young Express, from Bayview to Leslie in the collectors. And we had a collision at the intersection of Black Creek and Lawrence with police on. Earn your MBA from Queen's Smith School of Business right here in Toronto. Find out more at smithmbaintoronto.com. Your next report is at 4:21. And now with the forecast, here is Michelle Nelson.
Well, it's still quite foggy out there, and that's going to continue ending throughout the overnight. Keep the umbrella handy, especially if you're heading out for dinner. We are still dealing with periods of drizzle across much of southern Ontario, eastern parts of the province, looking at that heavy snow. So a heads up if you are heading towards Ottawa tonight. We are watching out for a few flurries this evening, and in through the overnight, we do have that chance for freezing drizzle. We're going to see temperatures drop down to 0. Scattered flurries to start off the day tomorrow morning. Tomorrow, your high will be 3. We do have the chance of some mixing as we get into the afternoon, and that's just the wraparound from what's left of this system. Right now, it's 3 degrees at Pearson. Your overnight low is 0.
680 News Time, 4:13.
The Maserati of Ontario and Oakville Grand Finale event is extended until January 31st. For a limited time, take advantage of incredible offers on new 2019 models, including a 0% finance rate and a 1.95% lease rate on the Maserati Ghibli SQ4. Plus, as an added bonus, take advantage of up to $25,000 savings on select 2018 in-stock models. Act fast before it's too late. Choose the road less ordinary by visiting Maserati of Ontario or Maserati of Oakville today. On approved credit, offer expires January 31st. See dealer for details.
License 10587.
You're approved, and you're approved, and you're approved for first, second, or third equity-only home mortgages despite your income. Credit, even if in power of sale. Simply apply in just 3 minutes anytime at savers.ca. That's S-A-V like Victor, E-R-S.ca.
Count on Savers Mortgage for the 1983. The problem solvers
That's 416-493-1983 or apply anytime at savers.ca.
This is All News Radio, 680 News.
3 degrees and partly cloudy. Good afternoon from the 680 News Broadcast Center in downtown Toronto. I'm Cam Dorrit. Here are the top stories this hour. The spread of the deadly new coronavirus is being called a grave situation by China's leader, with more than 1,200 people affected and the death toll now at 41. As countries overseas confirm new cases, Canada is preparing for a harsh eventuality, but health officials assure the public they're ready. The city said a broken water main at Yonge and Gerrard could affect water pressure and discoloration, but nothing was said about a total shutoff. Now, an 80-story condo building says they've been warned they could be without any water for weeks.
80 floors.
Sports, the impeachment trial of U.S. President Donald Trump continues. His lawyers lay out their
What the
case.
fuck you motherfuckers gonna shit?
4:15. And time now for 680 Sports from Sportsnet 590 The Fan. Here's Brent Gunning.
Oh, all the traps are going to run dry in a few days.
Tonight you can watch on Sportsnet or listen on Sportsnet 590 The Fan starting at 8. You can also watch a special stats-based broadcast. That'll be on Sportsnet 1 along with Sportsnet 360. Austin Matthews will not play. He's got that banged-up wrist. Mitch Marner and Freddie Anderson will suit up for the Atlantic Division.
This is a hustler's opportunity.
They get back from the break on Monday in Nashville. Jake Muzzin will likely play. The team are calling him from the Marlies. Trevor Moore is also back from the conditioning stint. The Marlies falling in Cleveland this afternoon. Overtime. The game needs overtime. 5-4 is the final. This week's PGA Tour stop is the Farmers Insurance Open. John Rahm and Ryan Palmer.
They ain't gonna walk through Regent Park on
Tiger Woods is 3 back in Boca Raton, Florida. That's where the LPGA is this week. Brooke Henderson is tied for 6 shots off the lead. The Raptors off back at it tomorrow afternoon in San Antonio. Well, Milos Raonic will play Marin Cilic around 9 o'clock tonight at the Aussie Open. Sports at 15 and 45 past every hour or anytime on the home of Tim and Sid, now on TV and radio. Sportsnet 590 The Fan. 680 News Time 4:16.
There's winter.
416.
There's wind terror. Terror doesn't just bring rain, but freezing rain. Not just sleet, but the slushiest of sleet. And worst of all, wind terror brings snow days, which means you have to take the kids into work. No! Make it stop! Bring on winter in a Subaru. Hurry in for great rates from 0.99% at your Ontario Subaru dealer.
Jenny Cooper, he's dead.
Death is her living.
I am just trying to put a picture together of how he died.
And she won't rest until she uncovers the truth.
You know, it is my mission as coroner to speak for the dead so that I can protect the living.
Don't miss the hit drama series, Coroner. New episode, Monday at 9 on CBC.
Getting our first glimpse at what the movie about the events that transpired will look like. In the trailer for Run This Town, we only see a brief glimpse of Damian Lewis as Rob Ford. The 1.5-minute teaser shows us the film also stars Canadians Nina Dobrev and Mina Massoud.
I'm gonna go watch somebody else act like him, man.
David tells me he followed the play-by-play when the scandal was unfolding in 2013. And that's enough for him.
No, I'm really not interested. It's kind of a tragedy that happened to the Ford family. Yeah, no, I would not go to see the movie. I have no interest whatsoever.
The film hits theaters in March. I'm Momin Qureshi.
Outgoing Conservative leader Andrew Scheer says he will continue to be critical of the track record of the Trudeau government as he prepares to hand over the reins of the party to a new leader. June 27th, speaking outside a weekend caucus meeting in Ottawa, he said his job will also be to keep the caucus on track.
My job is to make sure that our parliamentary caucus stays focused on the common ground that does exist between all Conservatives. That will be where we will be highlighting wasteful spending, higher taxes, and